Welcome, everybody. Today the topic is going to be urgent or important. Has your day ever gone like this? You wake up and overnight all your inboxes are flooded with a deluge of emails, half of which are nothing but time wasters. All day long you're interrupted with phone calls from people who either want your help or want your money. You scratch things off your to-do list, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing. Things that blink, buzz, pop up, or ring control the tempo of your day. We frantically jump from brush fire to brush fire, urgent request to urgent request. You're crazy busy, but you feel like your life is running you as opposed to you running your life. Ever feel that way? You know, one of the simplest keys to determine what we really need to put our attention on is at every interruption, ask ourselves this simple question: is this urgent or is this important? And you may be thinking that urgent and important are the same things, but you would be wrong. And important activities guide us towards our professional and personal goals. Important things require planning. Urgent activities demand your immediate attention. The urgent forces us to concentrate on them because there's going to be immediate consequences if we don't. You know, the many times associated, these urgent activities are many times associated with other people's goals. So I used to call these urgent demands of my time brush fires. And I felt like a chicken with its head cut off, jumping from one thing to the next. And I spent years living this way. My wife and I were so busy in the 1980s and half of the 1990s that we missed all professional sports. I seldom ever watched TV, never once went to the movies, never took a vacation, hardly ever visited family, and have only recently begun to enjoy the music of that era. I mean, it's like a chunk of my life that's just gone, 15 years. And we allowed much of our schedule to be controlled by other people because we thought, or they got us to think, that everything was urgent. You've got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do it now, we need this now, we need this form now, need this memo. And I just ran. Next time I turned around, it was 15 years were gone. The sooner we retrain ourselves to focus more on the important as opposed to trying to extinguish the urgent is the sooner period of time that it's going to take us to reach our own goals. And I think most of you understand what I'm saying here. The author Seth Godin shows us a simple difference between what's urgent and what's important. Quote, "A 6-year-old who throws a tantrum and refuses to go to school is escalating into the urgent. Going to school every day is important. Mollifying an angry customer is urgent. Building systems and promises that keep customers from getting angry is important. Breaking news of any kind is rarely important. Important means long-term, foundational, coherent, in the interest of many, strategic, efficient, and positive. And if you take care of the important things, the urgent things don't show up as often. The opposite is never true. I know." And I love that. As we take care of the important things, the urgent things don't show up as often. If you can answer that question at every disturbance, every email, every phone call, your life will begin to take on the shape that you once imagined and dreamed that it could. Is this email, this task, this call, this urgent interruption, is it urgent or is it important? Every email. Typically, you get up in the morning, you're going to have 50, 60 emails. Half of those are nothing. And so you can just delete them quickly. You see? And then some things you need to task to somebody else. And then everything else is either going to be important or urgent. So you can get through most of that pretty quick. And there's some great things on the internet that are great helps in dealing with these things. And I might put a couple of links into the email that I send out later. See, so quote, what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. It's attributed to Dwight D. Eisenhower. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Now, President Dwight D. Eisenhower made a career out of knowing the difference between what is important and what is urgent. He became the 34th President of the United States, but before that, he was a 5-star general during World War II. He's also known as the father of the interstate highway system. He's the one who got that thing going. And he's also the founder of NASA. Not sure if you knew that. See, this guy accomplished a lot of stuff. And Eisenhower was not just a visionary. He flat out made things happen. He planned them into happening. He was one of the most careful planners in history. And he knew the difference between what was important and what was urgent. And they're never the same thing. And you're going to find out as we go on that really we want to put most of our energy into the important things of our life. And then eventually we'll take less and less time having to stomp out those urgent brush fires. Some things you just have to handle. But everything that comes across our plate isn't ours. And you don't have to take ownership of that. And President Eisenhower, he handled the urgent as necessary, but he scheduled the important into his life and into the life of the United States of America. Proverbs 21:5 from the Message says, "Careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. Hurry and scurry puts you further behind." I hurried and scurried for 15 years. I still do sometimes. I mean, you have to plan the important into your life. And I'm going to show you what the important is if you don't already know. If you feel at times like you're running behind yourself like a dog chasing its tail, and you feel like time is just passing by, you look up and another year's gone, it's winter again. You see, then ask yourself, is this thing I'm about to deal with urgent or is it important? And remember to put the most effort and planning into what's important. Now here's the important wisdom of age. And the other day, a young man in his 20s, he asked me to talk to him about his investment goals. He was all excited. And he walked up to me, sort of stood in my space a little bit closer than he should have. And so I asked him, I said, what behavior are you willing to trade now to reach your financial dreams in the future? There's always a trade-off. And he just shrugged his shoulders. And he said that he was just getting by right now, just making ends meet, but he had big plans for the future. And so, I told him that my job was to make the 70-year-old him happy, not the 27-year-old him. And because in the job I'm in now, I have to think in 30-year chunks, 20, 30-year chunks in the financial business. Philippians 3:13 and 14 from the Phillips says, "My brothers, I do not consider myself to have fully grasped it even now, but I do concentrate on this. I leave the past behind, and with the hands outstretched to whatever lies ahead, I go straight for the goal. My reward, the honor of being called by God in Christ. See, let the future you help you decide what's important today. If the future you could whisper into your ear what's important, what you should be putting your life and heart and time and money into right now, would you listen? Would you listen? Quote, "You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today." Abraham Lincoln. You see, how do we determine what's going to be important to us in the future? Well, I'm going to show you that it's a little bit easier than you think. If you could somehow go into the future and talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself to do differently? And just think, that's sort of a crazy thought. If you could somehow go into the future and talk to the 90 or 100-year-old self, yourself at that age, what would that person tell you? You know, what would you do differently now because of it? Now, the cumulative wisdom from people near the end of their lives might help us answer that question, might help us consider what would be important for us to adopt today. And I recently read an article by an Australian nurse called Bronnie Ware. And she spent several years working in caring for people, for patients who are in their last 12 weeks of their life. And she began to record what they said, especially the things that they wish they had have done or wish they had have changed. And she wrote a book on this. And Ware writes of the amazing clarity and vision that people gain at the end of their lives and the lesson we could learn from their final thoughts. And that's what I'm going to go into right now. She said, quote, "When questioned about any regrets they had or anything they would do differently, common themes surfaced again and again," end of quote. And here are the top 5 things that people in the last days of their life wish they could change. Out of many, many, many people. And you'll see how important, these are the 5 things that people at the very end of their life wish they had have changed. These are their only regrets. Number 1, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And this is the most common regret, the top do-over wish of most elderly people. These are the unfulfilled dreams, the things they failed to schedule in for themselves. This is an important thing, to live your own life and not someone else's. The urgent things that snatch our attention are many times other people's dreams. Live your own life. Live your own life. Live your own life. You know that you've quoted this verse, "I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." It's I, heavy on the I. It's you doing something. He doesn't make you do it. Doesn't have a leash around your neck dragging you around from blessing to blessing. You see, I am the one who needs to live my own life. You're the one who has to live your own life. Heavy on the you. Live your dream. Romans 8:36 through 39 from the King James. Okay. As it is written, "For thy sake we are killed all the day long, and we're accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord." I mean, Paul had that long view. The hope for us is a long view. But people at the end of their life, they're thinking about the hope, but these are the 5 top things that people say. See, jumping from urgent task to urgent task keeps us from fulfilling our own dreams. Schedule in what's important to you: family, time, exercise, education, vacation time, donating your time, and God time. Schedule it in, or someone else is going to fill your schedule. You know, either you schedule in what you want to do, or else someone else will pencil you into their schedule. Live your own life. That was number 1. Now, number 2, and this sounds funny, but it's, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You know, every single male patient who was dying when this woman sat with them, every single one of them wished they hadn't worked so hard. And she quotes, "All of the men I nursed deeply regretted spending so much of their lives on the treadmill of a work existence." End of quote. Now that's pretty big. I mean, I know when I'm busy and working long hours and doing big weeks, I feel like I'm really accomplishing a lot. And then sometimes I'll go home and my wife will say, "Hello, I'm still here." you know, and I'll get busy. You know, I mean, you get busy. And it was easier when my kids were little because she was occupied with them, and so that I could put more time in and not really be missed. Now that the kids are gone, I'm missed. And so how do I schedule the important into my life and not allow the urgent to take me away? Ecclesiastes 5:18 from the Voice. "Then it dawned on me that this is good and proper, to eat and drink and find the good in all the toil that we undertake under the sun during the few days God has given, for this is our lot in life." You got to take the time to enjoy, eat and drink, and enjoy every aspect of your life. You know, smell the roses, isn't that the thing? Stop and smell the roses. Schedule the important in. You really want to get in shape, then figure out how to do it. Schedule it into your life. You want to make more money? Schedule it in. You see, want more time with your wife or significant other or somebody? Schedule it in. Do what's important. You see, schedule in the life you know the 100-year-old you would have wanted you to live. You know, first one is live your own life. Next one I wish I hadn't have worked so much. And really, in the sense, it's working smarter. It's being smarter with your time and not allowing everybody else's emergency to be your emergency. You don't have to take ownership of it. Now, number 3. See, well, first off, don't let your profession overshadow your life, would be number 2. Don't let your profession overshadow your life. Heck, people's names are even about professions. You know, Tinker and Miller and, you know, and all these different names. Smith, you know, like a blacksmith. All these names in Europe, that's because that's what they were. That's who they identified with. We need to identify with more than just our profession. That's just as a part of our life. It helps us do the things that God really wants us to do, that we really want to do. If it's everything, then someday you're going to be a grumpy old person on that bed talking to some nurse, wishing you had to change things. Number 3, regret. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. It's important to say what you need to say in order to become the person you were designed to be. Our words released into the world initiate change. Unspoken words do nothing. I don't mean screaming and yelling at everybody. That's not necessarily what this means, though it might. Ware said, quote, "Many people suppress their feelings in order to keep peace with others. As a result, they settled for a mediocre existence and never became who they were truly capable of becoming. Many developed illnesses relating to the bitterness and resentment they carried as a result." End of quote. I know Josephine, she tells me all the time, I have a voice. And if I don't let that voice out, I'm going to get sick inside. Well, that's sort of what this is saying. If you don't speak up at times, you're just going to get railroaded. You're on somebody else's track. We have to be able to speak up. Have to be able to say the things that we wanted to say. What was that? The title? I'd wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I'd wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Imagine regretting that. Most people do. There was a time I did not express my feelings, and that's why I sort of have a lost 15-year gap in my life. You see, Luke 6:45 from The Voice. It's the same with people. A person full of goodness in his heart produces good things. A person with an evil reservoir in his heart pours out evil things. The heart overflows in the words of a person speaks. Your words reveal what's within your heart. You know, when we consistently speak our minds, we don't allow things to get pent up and explode at the wrong time. If you had handled things all along, then it'd be different. You see, spoken words inspire action. John 21:25 from the King James says, "And there are so many other things which Jesus did, the which, if they should be written every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written." Amen. Very last verse in the Gospel of John. If the whole world at that time couldn't contain the books that would record the life of Jesus Christ and the words of Jesus Christ, he must have been a bit chatty. And he was a man of action like no one ever has been. And look how God took care of him. Still is taking care of him. He gave his life. He laid down his life to the death, but God raised him up. The cool thing is we can lay our life down, and even if we do hit the point of death someday, which we all will, we're going to be risen up too, and have a body like his glorious body. It's a great hope. You see, live your life out loud. Jesus did. Express yourself in words. Express yourself in art. Express yourself in relationships. Express yourself in your work. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Let your light shine. Develop the courage to say what you need to say so you become the person your 100-year-old self would be proud of. Develop the courage to express yourself. It's not easy to do, folks. When somebody seemingly has power over you, but you know something? Nobody really does, unless you give it to them. And usually you give it to them with all their urgent tasks. Do what's important for you. I'm not saying you don't work. I'm not saying we don't listen. I'm just saying we have to express ourselves. Develop the courage to express yourself. It takes a lot of courage. Number 4. This is the number 4 wish that these old people wish they had done in their life. One of the things they wish they had changed. And it is number 4, I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Bronny Ware, the nurse, said that most of her patients had deep regret that they didn't put more effort into developing and maintaining friendships. Quote, there were many deep regrets about not giving friendships the time and effort that they deserved. Everyone misses their friends when they're dying. End of quote. You know, friendship is huge. Talks about friends sticking closer than a brother. You know, Proverbs 18:24 from the CJB says, some friends pretend to be friends, but a true friend sticks closer than a brother. And you know, almost nothing is closer than a blood relation. You know, but a true friend. But does it just happen? Friendship takes work. It's hard work. Will there be arguments? Yeah. Is there going to be challenges? Yes. Is there in your own family? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You see, I mean, it's always there. I have friends and have kept friendships at different parts of our country, and they still remain rich and vibrant. And when we get together, we pick up right where we left off. Just spent a nice time. We met at a city that was in between where we both live. We flew in, they drove, and we spent 3 or 4 days together with a couple. And it was like, I still am relishing in the time we spent together. About to go on a vacation with some other friends, you see. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of pictures and good times with that. I enjoy seeing all of you, you know, every week or every couple of weeks. You know, it's a big deal. It doesn't mean you have to spend every second with a friend, but you can still maintain the friendships. See, friendships are as important as they are necessary. Schedule your friends into your life. Schedule friendship into your life. And it's going to be very important for you someday. That 90, 100-year-old you wants me to tell you this right now. You know, develop friendships. Schedule friendships into your life. Maintain lifelong friendships. And finally, this is the fifth thing that this nurse came up with or heard. And these are the top 5. I wish that I had let myself be happier. And Nurse Ware said, quote, this is a surprisingly common one. Many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice. End of quote. She said she also said that they, quote, they longed to laugh properly and have silliness in their life again. End of quote. You know, schedule happiness into your life. What makes you happy? You know, what makes you happy? You know, decide to be happy. Happiness is good medicine, Proverbs 17:22 says. Happiness is good medicine. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Happiness is good medicine. Most people say they have no regrets. I don't have any regrets in my life. If I had it to do over again, I would do it just the same. The 90-year-old you begs to differ. You would not do it the same. These are the 5 top things that most people on their deathbed told this nurse. Decide to be happy. You see, you know, don't have those regrets. They have to be important. The Bible talks about all those things. The wisdom of the aged tells us something different about these regrets. You know, all these songs, I have no regrets, or regrets I have a few, or whatever. You know, but I mean, these are a few that are biggies. See, none of us know how long we're going to live. Is it 60? Is it 70? Is it 80? Is it 90? Is it 100 years? what would that 100 or 90 or 70-year-old self say to you, whisper in your ear today? You already know these things, folks. It's to make sure you schedule the following into your life. 1, live your own life. 2, don't let work overshadow your life. 3, develop the courage to fully express yourself. 4, maintain lifelong friendships. And 5, decide to be happy. Wisdom, great wisdom, and important wisdom can come to us from people of advanced age. These are the things, if you could somehow transport yourself into the future, these 5 things are probably something you would tell yourself. Live your own life. Live your own life, Mark. Stop letting work overshadow your life. You work smarter, not harder. You see, develop the courage to fully express yourself. Be courageous enough to say what you wanted to say to that person. You see, maintain lifelong friendships. And this really hit me. I thought, am I really working friendships, or do I just wait for them to happen? You see, if you have friends, start shoring those things up. That's what the 90-year-old you is telling me to tell you. And decide to be happy. Decide to be happy. See, important wisdom comes to us from people of advanced age. Quote, the old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, and the young know everything. Oscar Wilde. Another quote, you can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old. George Burns. Quote, the secret of staying young is to live honestly, eat slowly, and lie about your age. Lucille Ball. And last quote here. There is a fountain of youth. It's in your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of people you love. When you learn to tap this source, you will truly have defeated age. Sophia Loren. So in closing, one of the simplest ways to determine what we really need to put our attention into is that at every interruption, ask yourself this simple question, is this urgent or is it important? Is it urgent or is it important? Is it a task I want to take on, or is it somebody else's task that they should be doing? The sooner we learn to schedule the important things into our life, like health, like friendship, like saying the things that you know you need to say. You think about writing a note, write that note to those people. Whatever it is. You want to write a letter, send a text, whatever it is, just do it. The sooner we learn to schedule the important things into our lives, the sooner we're going to reach our goals and find fulfillment in our lives. Important activities guide us to our professional and personal goals. Urgent activities demand our immediate attention. The urgent forces us to concentrate on them because there's going to be immediate consequences if we don't. And many times the urgent will push us to achieve someone else's goals. Now, urgent things are going to happen, folks. They're going to come up. But the more that we schedule in the important things into our life, the less we're going to, the less urgent things are going to face us. We're going to be faced with. So let's remember the lesson of the 90-year-old you. Live your own life. Don't let work overshadow your life. Develop the courage to fully express yourself. Maintain lifelong friendships and decide to be happy. As Eisenhower once said, quote, what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. End of quote. God has already given us everything we will ever need. Let's use every nuance, every blessing, and every bit of time that we have left to live the life that we dreamed of living. God gave us the gift of life. Let's enjoy our gift to the fullest. Before we allow others to run our life, before we wonder where all the years have gone, ask yourself at every decision, is this urgent or is it important? And my advice to you is do the important first. God bless.